Often people talk about the health effects associated with hydraulic fracturing, living next to oil and gas sites. And the funny thing is there's not a whole lot of science that supports that you have any ill effects. So there are plenty of exposure studies. When I say exposure study, I mean that somebody, a health scientist, environmental scientist, goes out and says, well, look, there are all of these things around here. There are all these carcinogenic compounds. There's all this stuff going on. Maybe it's bad. And they measure the various levels of things that you would be concerned about. So exposure studies, from our perspective, indicate that there's concern in the science. But it does not show that this activity caused this harm. So we pay attention when we see exposure studies, but it's not the same as proving that that a problem actually exists. So there are a few studies that actually go out and say, okay, for people living next to these sites or within a certain proximity of these sites, do we see more health effects? So there's about 10 of these studies at present. It's not a very big number. And again, they don't really have a clear idea as to what exactly would be causing the problem. They're just looking for whether there's a problem or not. These are sort of, if you will, canaries in the cage. Let's go out and see if we have a problem, and then if we do find a problem, we'll investigate further. So any positive studies in this kind of literature would show you that we need to investigate this more, and we need to understand what's going on. Here's a breakdown of how that literature looks.